Yes, you can join anytime. Yes, of course. I also have trainings on Saturdays. Yes, I record as well. Right, so let's begin. Today we shall look at the listening test. So the listening test is the aspect of the IELTS test that assesses or evaluates your ability to listen to the native speakers and provide information from what they say based on what you're able to hear from the audio that will be played. Now, the listening test is, to me, is just synonymous with a flowing stream that once you get into a stream, a flowing stream, anyone that flows past you is gone. You can't get it back. So also is the listening test. Once the audio is playing, any part of the audio that plays is gone. So if you don't get it, then forget about it. Unless you are lucky to guess something and that thing comes out to be right. In listening tests, you are required to do three things at the same time. Else, you may likely miss answers. So what are those three things you should do? You are expected to read, you are expected to listen, and you are expected to write at the same time. If you fail to do any of these guys, there is high possibility that you might miss your answer or have your answers wrong based on whatever you write. Now, how do these guys play? How do they play out? First, if you are doing the paper-based test, for instance, you would be given the question booklet, right? Your question booklet would have everything that you're supposed to treat or cover from questions 1 to 40. Now, each question comes with its own set of instructions. So you are supposed to begin by reading the instruction to know what you are supposed to do for that particular section. Now, when you read the instruction, you are also meant to go through the questions before the audio begins to play. And in most cases, the audio would tell you something like section 1. You would hear a discussion between two friends talking about an excursion. First, you have some time to read questions 1 to 5. Audio will give you something like this. Now, when you are given the time to read, please, it is important you read. It is important. There's a reason. I'll tell you, you will get to that point where when you understand why it is important to read. So you are meant to read the questions before the audio begins to play. And when you read the questions, underline or identify the instructions, the keywords in the questions. Those keywords are like clues to the answer that will be said. Those keywords will also be paraphrased by the audio. You will not get to hear those keywords in the audio, but the audio will say them. But the audio will not say them exactly the way they are written. Audio would use their synonyms to express them. So if you have no idea of the keywords in the question, that means you won't realize when the audio is treating the question. You'll just be waiting for the audio to say the exact words you have read in the question. And before you know it, the audio is done with that particular question. You are still waiting, the audio is treating number 2. Audio will say answer to number 2. You are still waiting for number 1. Audio will treat number 3, number 4, and then the next thing you hear will be, that is the end of your section 1. You may now transfer your answers. And you have not written nothing. So you need to read. Now, when you read the instruction and the question before the audio begins to play, you then begin to listen, because the audio will start playing. So as the audio is playing, you are meant to listen. And while you are listening, you are also supposed to read along. Right? While you are listening to the audio, you also need to read the questions, so that you would follow the audio according to how it's going. And that's the only way you get to hear your answer, or get to hear when the answer will be said. So when you're listening and reading and you hear your answer, you must write. You see how the three marry each other. So it is important you take on these 3 keys, or these 3 steps, while you are treating your listening test. Now, during your listening test, you may have to battle with a number of things. Some of the things you battle with should include, or includes, the pronunciation pattern of the native speakers. It's different from your pronunciation, or different from the pronunciations you hear within your locality. The pace, their talking pace is usually faster. So you would have to battle with that. Then their accents, the way they speak, you're going to battle with all of that. So these are things you need to build the habits over time. And how do you build the habit? By practicing intensively and extensively. So once you keep doing that, you begin to understand their pronunciation patterns, their enunciations, their voice modulations, their accents, and their speaking pace. So it becomes, you become used to it. Now, there are things you will need to bring in during your listening test that will help you to have a better performance during your listening. The first thing here is the important keys, which we call the 3 T's. These 3 T's are the trick, which is also called the bracket trick. Then the tips. And then the last T is called the techniques. So we shall take these 3 T's one after another very quickly. To begin, let's look at the trick, the bracket trick. Now, what is it about? For you to apply this bracket trick, you must adhere strictly to the instruction per the section you are treating. You need to adhere strictly to it. For instance, here is an instruction. Before we go into the instruction, or before we proceed into the listening training, it is important we understand how to interpret instructions. If you want to do well in your listening, reading, writing, or speaking test, understanding how instructions appear and interpreting instructions correctly is 100 steps in or towards the right directions for you in IELTS. Edidion, I hope my recordings will not end up being a mess. Okay. So you need to understand how to interpret instructions and get them correctly. Let's take, for instance, here is an instruction that is a template of the instructions you see during your IELTS listening test. The instruction right here says no more than 1 word and or a number. What does that mean? it means, according to you, that the word should not be more than one, right? And the number should just be one digit, a single digit, right? Okay. Let me just prick your mind. How many numbers do we have here? Seven numbers. According to you, we have about seven numbers. This is just one number. That's 1 million, right? It's just a number, but comprising about 7 digits. How many numbers do we have there? One number. With how many digits? One digit, right? One number representing 2, still one digit. One number representing one number with 2 digits. Same applies here. One number, but having like 7 digits. Do you understand? How many numbers do we have here?
We have about 3 numbers with
Here.
little points. Okay, we have this pointer. I say 3 numbers with
Right here, what are we referring to there? What is this referring to?
this is time.
Time. And this time represents just a particular time. Just a particular time. What time is that? 7:15 a.m. There will be other times. There could be 7:16, 7:17. So represents one. Do you understand this? So if you are taking on your listening test and you have this instruction, this represents just a number. The whole of this represents just a number. Please, do you understand this? All right. So to actually get your tests correctly, to actually have your choice of answers correctly, to write what is expected according to instructions, you need to be able to interpret the instruction. So to begin, here, no more than one word and or a number simply means that your answer can be just one word answer. It can as well mean that your answer can be one word and a number. It can also mean that your answer could just be a number without a word. Please, do you understand this? This instruction, this is what it means. Here is a complete interpretation. It means your answer under this category of instruction, your answer should not exceed one word. It should just fall as one word. It also means that your answer can be one word and still have a number beside it. For instance, 10 houses. One word, and a number. Do you understand? Then it could also be a number without even a word. Okay? Now, how do you also interpret an instruction that says no more than two words and or a number. When an instruction says no more than two words and or a number, how would you interpret this? What does it mean?
Means that the West can be one or two, but you don't see. Then you can have a number, being 3 digits or
Nice. So, since we have understood the interpretation of this no more than one word and or a number instruction, you can as well come across a section that the instruction would say no more than two words and or a number. How would you or how might you interpret that? This simply means that your number, pardon me, it simply means that your answer can be one word. It can be one word and a number. It can as well be two words. It can be two words and a number. It can as well be just a number without a word. Please, do you understand this? The emphasis right here is that do not exceed two words. That's the emphasis. However, it could fall between 1 to 2. Now let's go to another template of instruction. You might come across a section that would say no more than three words and or a number. No more than three words and or a number. What does this mean? It simply means your answer can be one word answer. It can be one word and or and a number. It can be two words. It can be two words and a number. It can also be three words and a number. Then it can as well be just a number without a word. So these are different ways to interpret the instructions, right? If you are able to understand these instructions, then you are also you are 10 steps on the right direction or in the right direction towards getting your answers right in IELTS reading and listening test. Okay, now let's understand how then can we apply the bracket trick. Let's begin with one word section. If if a section says no more than one word and or a number, how can you apply the bracket trick to your answers? First, what does the bracket trick mean? Now, the bracket trick is the practice of putting a part of your answer that you are not so sure about in bracket. It is the practice of putting a part of your answer that you're not so sure about in bracket. So how does this work? Let's assume that you heard the word I need the best. I have a slot to recruit a number of students from different institutions. The government just awarded me the contract to hire students with outstanding performances in their academics. So I am reaching out to different schools to get me students who meet the specified or specific requirements of the government. So since I wouldn't want to go to the schools individually to inform the heads of student affairs, I decided to put up this seminar to invite all the um, head of student affairs. So since you are here, it is my singular privilege to say that I'll need the best from your school. All right? I'll need you to get me students from your school, but specifically the best. All right? Now, when you hear the best, what will you write? The best. Now, this is it, right? It is possible that once you write this, you may be correct. But at the same time, you can be wrong. Because the HR, the government representative, was referring to all the individual representatives or students affairs representatives of different schools, different departments of different schools. So she wants the best. So this best may not be specifically singular form. Do you understand this? So if you write this, you are wrong. If what they want is not a singular form of the best. Now, if you also write this, you may be right and at the same time incorrect, because you may not be 100% sure if the examiner wants it to be the plural or the singular. So what do? You write this. This is what you have to do. Now, having this, you have factored the two options into one. So if they want it in singular form, you have BEST. If they want it in the plural form, you have BESTS. That is the role and job of the bracket trick. It places you safe, because you might write just this, whereas they require an S there. The whole effort you've put in is dashed. You might write BESTS. Unfortunately, they want just BEST. So your answer is incorrect. So what you need to do to stand safe or stay safe is BST in bracket S. And that places you safe. Please, do you understand this? This is how to apply the bracket trick when you are treating a section that says no more than one word and or a number, because this is just a word answer. I don't know if you understand this. So here you are safe and correct. This may be correct, it may be wrong. This may be correct, it may be wrong as well. But this is absolutely correct. So should they want the BST alone, you are going to be marked correct because the S is in bracket. The bracket makes it optional and not a mandatory, not mandatorily part of your answer. Right? Now, but if they want BESTS, they are going to acknowledge the S because it's there. Okay. Now let's look at how else can you apply the bracket trick when you're treating a section that says no more than one word and a number. For instance, if you are treating date of birth, there are different formats of date of birth. You might have the format of DD, MM, Y, right? You might as well have MM, DD, Y. Then sometimes you can have this guy first. These are different formats of writing date of birth. Now, in IELTS, you do not need anything that has to do with year, if it is specifically talking about date of birth. What you need will just be the day and the month, or the month and the day. Do you understand this? So you don't need to include year. Why? Why do you need to avoid the inclusion of year? Because, for instance, if a person says, Good morning, TATEC IELTS Prep Center speaking. My name is Benedict. How may we help you? And you're like, oh, good morning, Benedict. I'm calling from California. I would like to make inquiries about your IELTS. Please, could you take me through the processes? And I'm like, oh, sure, we can. First and foremost, we'd like to get some information about you. What's your name, please? And you hear, oh, my name is Donald Trump. And maybe Donald is written, then dash. Then you will write Trump. Fine, that will be your answer to number one. Okay, Donald Trump, that's taken. And can I get your date of birth, please? Yeah, I was born on August the 6th. August the 6th. Now, if you hear August the 6th, if you write this, do you think it's correct? What's wrong with it? Remember, we are treating no more than one word, right?
Because it's not because we are bringing in more than one word. We are bringing in two words there.
Okay, there are two words here, right?
Two words there and one number.
So what do you do?
What do you do?
What will you write?
You just write 0
So I should write 0.
August 9,
August should be 9 or 8? 8, okay.
08
Mm-hmm.
slash
Mm-hmm.
06.
Right? Now, when you do this as your answer, of course, it's absolutely incorrect. Because you have written, whereas here says what? A number. Have you forgotten? So what do you do? What you are to do is to write August 6. What's August 6 covering? Look at it. A word, a number. Do you understand? Now, when you write this, you are correct, but you can still be wrong as well. So you need to apply bracket trick. Now, why might you stand incorrect? This is because there is high possibility that the 6 pronounced may have th. For instance, if you are to pronounce this guy, how do you pronounce this guy? Huh? When you're talking, can you make this come out? When you are talking, you will make that to be sounded, right? So it's possible it might have happened, but you didn't hear it. So when you write only this, you stand incorrect. I don't know if you understand what I'm explaining. So what do you do? The native speakers pronounce this guy as sixth. Sixth. So by the virtue of this X here before TH, the X will swallow that. To swallow it. So to stand safe, when you write your 6, you put this TH in bracket. So in case the pronunciation covered TH, you have it. However, if they don't need it, then it will be ignored. Your 6 stands. Please, I hope you are catching the bracket trick. It saves a lot for you, right? So this is how to apply the bracket trick when you are treating date of birth. Some other time it might be the day before the month. For instance, I was born on the 12th of, I was born on 12th of September. 12th of September. Now here, this is what the audio says. What would you write? Will you write it exactly according to what the audio has given you? Why? Why won't you write this? Instruction. Instructions September 2 of your answer, it's incorrect. It's gone beyond the requirement. So you need to find a way to write your answer to align with the instruction.
You will write September
Mm-hmm.
12.
So I would write right? Is it correct? Okay. So when you write this way, your answer will be wrong. So you might either say September 12. Then remember your TH in brackets. Is there any difference between these two, Seth? Why should this one be wrong? Is there any difference?
Yeah, the organization.
The abbreviation. This guy here does not mean September. It doesn't mean September. This is French, set, meaning 7. So you didn't even write an English word. Slight things we ignore. So by default, you have written a word from another language rather than English. Then secondly, now the audio gave us 12th of September. So if I want to follow the provisions of the audio, I would simply write 12th September. So I'm removing OF. One word, one number. 12th of September, 12th September. Do you understand? This is what the audio gave us. And I've written exactly what the September gave. So I had to apply the elimination method so that I can work according to the instruction that says one word and a number. Please, do you understand this? Okay, so that's how to apply the bracket trick when you're treating a section that has to do with one word and a number, especially if it is about date of birth. You need to be careful. You need to understand how to write your answers. Do not abbreviate any words, and also understand to adhere really to the instruction. Okay, you may also be taking on one or two questions that has to do with, or that have to do with money. Money. So how does this play out? How do we write $50.25? $50.25. Yes, how can I write that on the board?
50 points. 25 cents. 25. Then come from and put the dollar sign. You can put, you put S in bracket.
S. S represents what?
You can put another one.
You mean this?
No.
Here.
And cents.
Cent is C now. C.
It's cereal.
Should I put it here? No. This is okay. So your answer is perfect. Right? So this is how to write $50.25. Right? Now, when you are treating questions about money during your listening test, you need to be very careful. You need to be very careful and observant. Now, what is it that you need to be careful about? Some questions on your question paper, on your screen, if you're doing a computer-based test, may write the cost of transportation from Ohio to Massachusetts is now $50.25. The cost of transportation from Ohio to Massachusetts is now dash. The cost of transportation from Ohio to Massachusetts is now dash. And here, if you are traveling during the regular time, you are supposed to pay just $30.47. But you just told me that you were going during the peak hours. Oh, sorry, the fee is $50.45. So the person's fee is not $30.55, it is $50, right? So you have to write this $50.25. This is what you have to write only. But if you write this on your answer sheet, it might appear to you as though, how will they know that this is money? Because I'm just writing 50.25. How will they know that this is about dollars? Then you want to put the dollars so that they will know that this is money. If you put that dollars, this dollar that is on your question paper, you write it as part of your answer on your answer sheet, it's going to make your answer incorrect. I don't know if you understand this. Don't take any information that's on the question paper as part of your answer. You are only meant to write the information that cannot be found on the question paper that you hear from the audio. So if there is the dollar symbol written on the question paper already, what you have to write as your answer is just the figure. Do not include the symbol of the currency. It might be dollars, it might be pounds, it might be euro. Now, some other time, you might read your question and you see that the question ends with dash dollars, like this. So if this is what the question ends with, and here you are to pay just about $104. $104. There won't be dollar symbol here anymore. Do you know why? Because it's already written in the Word version. So when you're writing, don't be carried away or you forget and you go and write this on your answer paper. And don't also write this on your answer paper. You just write the $104. That's all. So when then can you write the dollar symbol, whether in the word version or the symbol version? It is only when there is no symbol written on that particular question, or when the spelled version is not there, that's when you get to write the symbol or the spelled version, and you may leave it in brackets. Yep. When it's not there on the question paper, when you write it as part of your answer, ensure to leave it in brackets. Now, in some tests, when you get into practice proper, you may also realize that there could be a schedule in a tabular form. A schedule in a tabular form, and that schedule would indicate different time periods and zones, right? It could also indicate different takeoff time. Maybe if it's an airplane schedule or a train station schedule, you want to travel, and then you want to know about the different travel schedules of that particular station. So when you hear the ferry that moves from Ohio to Massachusetts, the fee is, then on the question paper, you may be seeing a symbol there on the question in a tabular form. So once there is symbol written, don't write it. I don't know if you understand my explanation. So you need to be careful. Read through the words, the question, instruction and be sure you are taking the right steps. Now, you may also be treating a section that talks about time. Time. So when it comes to time, there could be something like this, for instance. Okay, let's look at this. These are different formats of expressing time. Which of the two formats do you think is more appropriate? Is it the format on the left or the format right here on the right? Both of them are about the same, right?
Okay. For me, best format is the left.
For you, right? All right. Correct. The left template or format is correct. Right. But I'm going to clean that, and this is what we are going to work with. All right. It's not like it's wrong, no, but it's still correct. But this is what we are working with. So in case you see this in your IELTS question booklet, don't feel it's incorrect. It is also correct. Now, another question. What is the difference between this time here and this one? Is there any difference?
The digits.
Digits? What was the difference? What's wrong with the digits?
That one is 4. The other one
Okay, this is 4 and this is 3. Not really. Now here, this particular format is covering the 24 hours template. While this guy is covering the 12 hours template. Do you understand the difference? So in IELTS, we are going to focus a lot more on the 12 hours template. Now, when you are treating the IELTS listening test and you hear a particular time, please check carefully on the question paper. Find out if the question has this or something like this. If the question has this, when you're writing your answer, you simply need to write the time, just the time, without indicating AM or PM on your answer paper, right? Because it is already there. Another thing you also want to find out is if the question indicates in the question something about morning or afternoon or evening or Night. If the question shows you or gives you this information, it means when you are writing your time, don't include once it shows morning, afternoon, evening, or night on the question, definitely it might not talk about AM or PM anymore. Are you aware? If your question indicates morning or afternoon or evening or night, it won't show AM or PM. Do you know why? Because morning simply means AM. Afternoon means what? Evening means what? Night means what? So there won't be any need to indicate AM or PM anymore because the time of the day has been indicated. Okay, when you are treating time and you notice that any of these indicators is written on the question, please simply write whatever time that the audio would give to you. For instance, 6:15 or 6:15. Don't put AM or PM. Some other time it could be schedule, maybe time schedule, train, railway, airport, taxis or buses. So they will have the morning schedule, they have afternoon, they have evening and late night. So once morning is indicated, once you hear your time, just write just the time. Because that time you're writing is under morning. So and it means AM. So don't write AM or write morning. Don't do that. They'll make your answer to be incorrect. But it's only when there is no information as regards AM or PM or any of these, and the audio says the time of the day when it's giving you time. That's when you can write AM or PM, but put it in bracket. Please, do you understand? Then, when you are treating a section that would say or that has the instruction no more than 2 words and or a number, no more than 2 words and or a number, what do you do? How do you apply the bracket trick? You might hear concave concave lens. You might hear concave lens. Now, when you hear concave lens, what's the primary subject here in these 2 words? Lens. This guy is what? An adjective. It's describing the type of lens, right? So it means in these 2 words, of course, the instruction says no more than 2 words, right? So in these 2 words, there is a main answer and there is a supporting answer. So the main answer here is lens. The supporting word right here is concave. So that means to apply the bracket trick, because when the instruction says no more than 2 words, it doesn't compel you to write 2 words under that particular section. 60% of such answers will be incorrect because some of them will need only 1 word. Just 1 word. So if you write 2 words, it's incorrect. Even though it says 2 words. Do you understand the logic here? If an instruction says no more than 2 words, that does not compel you to be writing 2 words on all through. Some of the answers may require just 1 word and it's perfect. So if you're busy writing two words all through, of course, most of them may be incorrect. So, for instance, this situation, what you need to do is, since this is the major item here, this one is just describing this lens. So what do? I have to apply my bracket trick and I put the concave in bracket. So when the examiner is marking your script, the examiner, of course, if what they have configured, if what they have chosen as the best answer to that, but if the answer still requires both concave and the lens, and you have the concave in bracket, everything is nice. But if they want only lens and you wrote concave lens without bracket, your answer is incorrect. I don't know if you understand this. Here we have, when we are treating no more than 3 words, this is a typical example, the Liberal Party. Now, in the answer, the Liberal Party, we have 3 words, right? But the instruction says no more than 3 words. It doesn't say it has to be, it must be 3 words, right? So the interpretation we have understood is that your answer can fall between 1 word, 2 words, and 3 words. So what does that mean? It simply means, for the fact that the instruction says no more than 3 words, does not mean your answers must be 3 words all through. So what do I need to do? I need to understand that the item here, the primary item here is about party, right? So now this word they is an article. The word liberal is more like the quality or description of the party, right? Meaning they are fair to all, right? So it's just an adjective. Then here, party is the main noun. So how do you play safe with your bracket trick? You need to apply the bracket around these supporting words separately. Apply the bracket trick separately around the 2 supporting words. Then leave the primary idea here open, right? So once you apply this, you are safe. If the examiner needs just the party without the particular type of party, right, then they would ignore the liberal, and you are correct. If the party needs liberal party without the emphasis they, all right, examiner would ignore this word and work with just these 2. If the examiner needs only party, they ignore the 2. If they need the 3 words in full, everything is here. You are safe. Please, do you understand this? Okay, let's go to okay. Now let's go to the listening test tips. Now these are tips that would help you to understand what to do and what not to do during your listening test. Of course, we have understood how to apply the bracket trick to our answers. But you also need to understand the tips that you should follow during your listening test. So some of these tips would include tip number 1: read instructions before starting any section. Read instructions before starting any section. Tip number 2: identify the number of words stipulated in the instruction. Identify the number of words stipulated in the instruction. For instance, if instruction says no more than 1 word, you identify that here I'm to write just 1 word and maybe a number. If it says no more than 2 words, you identify that my answer can be between 1 and 2 words, and of course, a number. If it says no more than 3 words, you know that you are not exceeding 3 words. So you identify the number of words stipulated in the instruction. Tip number 3, read the questions before the audio begins to play. Read the questions before the audio begins to play. Tip number 4, write your answers while the audio is playing. Write your answers while the audio is playing. Now, the tip number 3 that says read the questions before the audio begins to play is very important. When you read the questions, you are able to identify the keywords in the question that the audio may most likely paraphrase. And once the paraphrasing is going on, but you are not able to catch, of course, you won't know when the answers will be said. Definitely, you're going to be missing lots of answers. So this tip says you should read the questions before the audio begins to play. So to enable you identify the keywords in each question so that you know when they are being paraphrased. Then the fourth question, I've said it, write your answers while the audio is playing, right? Next tip, you're free to write up to 2 potential answers beside the question being treated. You're free to write up to 2 potential answers beside the question being treated. However, ensure to transfer the one that is more appropriate. You're free to write up to 2 potential answers beside the question being treated. However, endeavor to transfer the more appropriate answer.
However, ensure.
Ensure to transfer the more appropriate answer. Okay. Next tip, ensure and endeavor to transfer all your answers to your answer sheet accurately. Ensure and endeavor to transfer all your answers to your answer sheet accurately. All right, next tip. Note that IELTS is also testing your spelling skills. Note that IELTS is also testing your spelling skills. Therefore, always write all your answers in full. Note that IELTS is also testing your spelling skills. Therefore, always write all your answers in full. So in IELTS, don't abbreviate any answer. Don't use shorthands. Don't use acronyms. Write all your answers in full and follow the instructions. For instance, if an answer is supposed to come in alphabets A, B, or C, do not copy the words written against the alphabet. That will make your answer incorrect. If the instruction says write A or B or C, you are expected to write only A or B or C. If you copy what is written against A, your answer is incorrect. If the answer says choose any 2 correct letters, you have to choose any 2 correct letters. It doesn't require you to arrange them in the right order. Your answer to the first answer can be C, second answer can be A. So you have to follow the instruction. Right? So you should write all your answers in full. Next tip says never pause your concentration. Never pause your concentration. Never pours your concentration because you want to think of an answer that you have missed. Never pause your concentration because you want to think of an answer you have missed. Rather, rather, continue with the next question if you miss any answer. All right, on this, I would like you to note that any moment you pause your concentration to think of an answer you have missed, you miss even more. You miss more answers. So once you realize that you've lost that answer, go on with the next. Maybe at the end of the particular section, when the audio will tell you that is the end of section 1, you now have 30 seconds to transfer your answers. You can use that time to think of something you can use to fill in, right? Next tip. If your punctuation skills and knowledge, if your punctuation skills and knowledge aren't good enough, if your punctuation skills and knowledge aren't good enough, then write all your answers in block letters. If your punctuation skills and knowledge aren't good enough, then write all your answers in block letters. Last tip, capital letters. Last tip, never leave any question unanswered. Never leave any question unanswered. It is better to guess than leaving a question blank. Because by guessing, you may guess right. However, if your guess is incorrect, you still have whatever marks you get correctly. You don't get penalized for guessing a wrong answer. All right, so this is where I would stop on tips. These are things that you need to bring in when you are treating your listening test. Practice your listening test. Constant practices help you to get better prepared. The more you practice, the more you understand the nitty-gritty, the pronunciation patterns, the enunciation approaches, the voice modulation, the accent, the speed or pace of their speaking. So the more you practice, the better you would get. All right, so ensure to use the tips you have just taken. So that's it on tips. All right. On techniques, we shall look at paraphrase. Now, what is paraphrase? This is a practice of restating an information using synonyms or phrases that still mean the same thing. Now, this guy plays out hugely or consistently during your listening test. How does it play out? Your question paper or the screen of your listening test will display the questions in their original words. But the audio that would play, which is supposed to also discuss what you have, either on the screen or on your question booklet, the audio does not read the questions using the exact words. The audio will paraphrase those words. So in most cases,
You must make sure that word that you
of course, but what it paraphrases is what is already written. The audio does not read what is written on your question paper exactly the way it's written. It has a way of using synonyms or phrases that still